It starts in a place you'd never expect to die, a construction site in Knoxville, Tennessee. July 11th, 1996. Two workers are starting their day. They see something near a retaining wall. It's a man. He's lying on his back in the gravel parking lot. He's not wearing any pants. Just a shirt pulled up. He has one sock on and one sock off. One shoe is on his foot. The other is nearby. His jeans are lying on the ground a few feet away. His body is surrounded by money. American dollars, Canadian dollars, German marks. It's scattered everywhere. Like someone just threw it in the air. The police arrive. They see the money. They see the body. They assume it's a robbery gone wrong or a drug deal gone bad. But then they look closer. The money's all there. Thousands of dollars in cash. There are traveler's checks too, and gold. Gold coins, gold bars, even platinum. All of it. Just lying there, untouched. This wasn't a robbery. So, what was it? The man had no ID, his pockets were empty, they run his fingerprints, they get a match. His name is Blair Adams. He's from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. That's over 2,500 miles away. How did a Canadian construction foreman end up dead, half naked, and surrounded by a small fortune in a Tennessee parking lot? The answer to that question begins a week earlier, and it only gets stranger. Blair Adams was 31 years old. He was a foreman for a construction company. He was good at his job. People liked him. He had a girlfriend he loved. He had a family. On the surface, things were normal. But underneath, something was wrong. Blair had a history with drugs and alcohol. But he had been sober for a while. He was trying to stay clean. His mother said he had been acting strange for a few weeks. He was paranoid. He was agitated. He was convinced someone was trying to kill him. He told his mother he didn't feel safe in his own home. He told his friends that people were spreading rumors about him. He said these people wanted to hurt him. No one knew who they were. It was all very vague. But to Blair, the threat felt real. Deadly real. On Friday, July 5th, 1996, the paranoia boiled over. Blair went to his job site and quit. Just like that. No notice, he just walked away. Later that day, he tried to cross the border into the United States at the Pacific Highway crossing, and he was driving his own car. U.S. Customs officials stopped him. They saw the cash. He had nearly $10,000 on him, a mix of American and Canadian currency. He also had the gold and platinum. The amount of money was suspicious. It flagged him as a potential drug trafficker or money launderer. They denied him entry. They told him to go back to Canada. Blair went back. But he didn't go home. His strange journey was just beginning. The next day, Saturday, July 6th, he went to a bank in Canada. He emptied his safe deposit box. He took out jewelry, gold, platinum. He added it to the cash he was already carrying. He put everything into a black fanny pack. He was a man on the run, carrying his entire net worth with him. He tried to fly. He went to Vancouver International Airport and bought a one-way ticket to Frankfurt, Germany. He had a friend who worked for a German construction company. Maybe he thought he could find safety there. A new life. But he never got on the plane. He got to the gate. He seemed nervous. He was pacing. Airport security thought he was acting suspiciously. They stopped him. They questioned him. For whatever reason, Blair decided not to board. He canceled his ticket and left the airport. He was still in Canada, and he was still terrified. His behavior was getting more erratic. He was making decisions that didn't make sense. Trying to cross the border by car failed. Trying to fly to Germany failed. He was running out of options. But he wasn't giving up. He drove to a friend's house. He was frantic. He told his friend, "I have to get out of here. They're going to get me." His friend tried to calm him down. He offered to take him to the hospital. He thought Blair was having a breakdown. Blair refused. He said he couldn't trust anyone. He stayed for a while, but then he left. His mother was worried sick. She called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. She reported him missing. She told them he was not in his right mind. She told them he thought people were trying to kill him. The police put out a bulletin for him. By now, it was Monday, July 8th. Blair had been on the run for 3 days. He decided to try crossing the border again, but this time he wouldn't drive. He would walk. He took a ferry from Vancouver to Seattle. Then, in the middle of the night, he found a place to cross the border on foot. He walked from Canada into the United States. He was now in Washington State. He had successfully evaded the authorities. He had made it to America, but he was still thousands of miles from Tennessee. The next morning, Tuesday, July 9th, Blair Adams walked into the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. He didn't try to buy a plane ticket. He went to a car rental agency. He rented a white Toyota Camry. He had no plan. He just knew he had to keep moving. He got in the car and started driving east. Where was he going? Nobody knows. There's no evidence he had any connection to Tennessee. No friends, no family, no job waiting for him. It seems like he just picked a direction and drove. He drove for more than 40 hours. He drove across Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, Missouri, and finally into Tennessee. He was a man possessed, fueled by fear. He must have been exhausted, he must have been terrified. Every car in the rearview mirror could have been them. Every stop for gas was a risk. On Wednesday, July 10th, around 5:30 p.m., the white Toyota Camry pulled into a gas station in Strawberry Plains, just outside of Knoxville. The attendant was a man named Gerald Sapp. He saw Blair get out of the car. He said Blair seemed agitated. He was in a hurry. Blair told Sapp he was having trouble with his car key. He said he couldn't get the car started. Sapp looked at the car. It was a rental. The key was a rental key. Sapp told him he probably just needed the master key from the rental company. He couldn't help him. Blair didn't seem to understand. He was frantic. He asked Sapp to call a tow truck. While they waited, Blair walked around the gas station. He was looking over his shoulder. He was jumpy. He kept looking at his fanny pack, which was full of his life savings. The tow truck arrived. The driver couldn't get the car started either. Blair paid for the tow. He asked the driver to take him to the nearest cheap motel. The driver dropped him off at a Fairfield Inn. It was about 7:30 p.m. This is where Blair Adams spent his last hours, and his actions here are the most puzzling of all. He went to the front desk. The clerk was a woman named Melissa. She said Blair was strange from the moment he walked in. He was fidgety. He was paranoid. He kept looking out the window. He didn't have a credit card. He paid for the room in cash with a $100 bill. He went up to his room number 417. He was only there for a few minutes, then he came back down to the lobby. He was talking to himself. Melissa heard him say something about someone having the key to his room. He seemed to think someone was already in there waiting for him. He came back to the desk 5 times in total. Each time, he seemed more scared. He would go up to his room, come right back down, and stand in the lobby. He was watching the entrance. He looked like a man expecting trouble. The last time Melissa saw him, he was leaving the hotel. He walked out the front door and into the night. It was around 7:45 p.m. He left all his belongings in the hotel room. His bags, his clothes, everything. He only had his fanny pack. The fanny pack with all the money and the gold. Less than 12 hours later, his body was found. The Fairfield Inn was right next to a construction site for another hotel. It was a short walk. Sometime between leaving the hotel and the next morning, Blair Adams ended up in that parking lot. And something terrible happened. The autopsy revealed the cause of death. It wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a drug overdose. Blair had died from a single, powerful blow to his stomach. The blow was so forceful that it ruptured his stomach and intestines. This caused septic shock. It was a violent, painful death. The police were stumped. They had a body, a cause of death, and a bizarre trail of clues that led nowhere. The crime scene made no sense. If someone attacked him, why did they take the money? The cash and gold were worth a fortune. They were scattered all around him. A robber would have taken it. A drug dealer would have taken it. Who kills someone for no reason and leaves the loot behind? The police started to piece together Blair's final week. They talked to his family in Canada. They learned about his paranoia. They talked to the border guards, the airport staff, the car rental agent, the gas station attendant, the tow truck driver, and the hotel clerk. Everyone told the same story. Blair Adams was a man terrified of something. But was that something real, or was it in his head? This is the central question of the case. Let's look at the theories. The first theory is that Blair was suffering from a severe mental health crisis. Maybe it was paranoid schizophrenia. Maybe it was a drug-induced psychosis from his past use. This would explain his behavior. The belief that people were after him, the frantic escape, the illogical decisions, the constant fear. Under this theory, his death could have been an accident. In his panicked state, maybe he ran into the dark construction site. He could have fallen hard onto a piece of rebar or some other object. A fall from the retaining wall, landing stomach first on a rock, could cause the kind of injury he sustained. But there are problems with this idea. The medical examiner said the injury was more consistent with a kick or a punch than a fall. It was a focused, blunt force trauma. And if he fell, why were his pants and one shoe off? It doesn't quite fit. Also, what about the money being scattered everywhere? If he fell, his fanny pack might have opened. But for the money to be spread out that seems unlikely. It looked more like someone had opened the pack and deliberately thrown the contents around. So what if his paranoia provoked someone? In his agitated state, he could have confronted someone in the parking lot. He might have been yelling, acting aggressive. Maybe he accused a stranger of following him. The person, either scared or angry, could have lashed out. A single, powerful kick to the gut. The person panics and runs, not even thinking about robbery. This scenario is plausible. It would explain the single blow and the abandoned valuable. The second major theory is that he was involved in a drug deal. This was the police's first thought. He had a history of drug use. He was carrying a huge amount of untraceable cash and gold. He was on a cross-country trip with no logical destination. This all looks like the behavior of a drug mule or someone on their way to a big score. Maybe the deal was set to happen in Knoxville. He met his contacts. Something went wrong. They argued. They attacked him. But again, we come back to the same problem: why leave the money? In the world of drug trafficking, money is everything. No dealer would kill someone and leave thousands of dollars and gold bars sitting on the ground. It makes no sense. Unless the killing wasn't about the money. Maybe it was a mess. Maybe Blair had crossed the wrong people. They tracked him all the way from British Columbia to Tennessee. They found him. They killed him to send a message to others. Taking the money wasn't the point. The point was the act of killing him. This is a chilling thought. It means his paranoia might not have been paranoia at all. It might have been justified. This leads to the third theory: Blair was genuinely running from someone. Maybe it wasn't drug-related, maybe he owed a gambling debt, maybe he witnessed a crime. Maybe he got involved with dangerous people who wanted him silenced. This theory aligns with everything he told his mother and friends. It explains his desperate need to flee the country. It explains why he kept moving, why he trusted no one. It would mean that his pursuers were real, they were patient, and they finally caught up with him in that dark parking lot. But it still doesn't fully explain the crime scene. If organized criminals tracked him for 2,500 miles, would they really be so sloppy? Would they leave the money scattered as a message? It seems more theatrical than practical. And why take off his pants? There is one small, strange piece of physical evidence that could point to a struggle. The police found a single long hair clutched in Blair's hand. It wasn't his. They ran DNA tests on it, but the technology in 1996 wasn't what it is today. The results were inconclusive. They couldn't match it to anyone. They couldn't even determine the race of the person it came from. It's a frustrating dead end, a ghost of a clue. There's also the detail about his pants and shoes. Why were they off? Some investigators have speculated about a sexual component to the crime. Perhaps Blair, in his disoriented state, solicited someone for sex. The encounter turned violent. This could explain the state of his clothes. A violent rage could explain the single fatal blow, and a panicked attacker might flee without taking the money. This theory is as plausible as any other, but there's no evidence to support it beyond the state of his clothing. So, we are left with a collection of strange facts and no clear narrative. A man becomes convinced someone is trying to kill him. He quits his job and liquidates his assets. He tries to leave the country by car, then by plane, and fails. He sneaks across the border on foot. He rents a car and drives over 40 hours to a city where he knows no one. His car mysteriously stops working. He checks into a hotel but is too scared to stay in his room. He walks out into the night and is found dead hours later. He was killed by a single blow to the stomach. His pants are off. His vast fortune is left untouched, scattered around his body. Every piece of the puzzle seems to contradict the others. If it was a mental breakdown, what caused the fatal focused injury? If it was a robbery, why was nothing stolen? If it was a drug deal, why was the payment left behind? If it was a targeted hit, why was the crime scene so bizarre and messy? The police in Knoxville did their best. They investigated every lead. They looked for connections between Blair Adams and Tennessee. They found none. They looked for suspicious characters at the gas station or the hotel. They found none. The case went cold. To this day, Blair Adams' death is officially listed as undetermined. The police don't know if it was a homicide or an accident. They don't have a suspect. They don't have a motive. The story of Blair Adams is unsettling because it sits on the edge of what we can understand. It's a story about fear. The fear he felt was clearly real to him. It was powerful enough to make him abandon his entire life and flee across a continent. The great unanswered question is whether that fear was born in his mind or in the real world. If his fear was a product of mental illness, then his story is a tragedy about a man who couldn't escape his own demons. His frantic journey was a flight from himself. He ended up in a random city where a random tragic event took his life. Maybe he stumbled and fell, maybe he provoked a stranger. In the end, the thing that killed him wasn't the phantom assassins he imagined, but a cruel twist of fate. But if his fear was real, if someone was actually hunting him, then the story is something else entirely. It's a horror story. It's a story about a man who knew he was marked for death. He did everything he could to escape. He used all his resources. He ran as far and as fast as he could. But in the end, it wasn't enough. They found him, and they killed him in a way that left everyone guessing. The nickname the media gave him was the man with the gold. But that's not who he was. He was Blair Adams, a son, a boyfriend, a friend, a man whose life unraveled in one terrifying week. We like stories to have endings. We want the mystery solved. We want to know who did it and why. But the case of Blair Adams offers no such comfort. There are no easy answers. There is only the long, strange road he traveled and the silent, baffling scene of his death. The white Toyota Camry he rented was eventually examined. The police found nothing wrong with it. The key worked perfectly. Blair's claim that the car wouldn't start was just another delusion, another moment of panic in his final desperate hours. He was stranded in Knoxville not by mechanical failure, but by his own mind. Think about that final drive. 40 hours alone in a car, with nothing but the road ahead and the terror behind. What was going through his head? Did he think he had finally gotten away? Did he feel a moment of relief when he crossed the Tennessee state line? Or was the fear a constant companion, sitting in the passenger seat beside him? His choice of Knoxville remains the most random part of the story. Maybe it was just where the car broke down, or where he thought it broke down. Maybe he saw a sign on the highway and made an impulsive decision. Or maybe, in his paranoid state, there was some twisted logic to it that we will never understand. The case has been featured on shows like Unsolved Mysteries. Internet sleuths have picked it apart for years. New theories pop up. Was the German friend involved? Was there a connection to a construction project in Tennessee? Was he part of a secret society? The speculation is endless, because the facts are so few and so strange. The money, the gold, the platinum, it all came to about $16,000 in 1996 values. It was his life savings. He carried it with him because he couldn't trust a bank. He couldn't trust anyone. It was his escape fund. In the end, it did nothing to save him. It just became part of the bizarre tableau of his death, a glittering pile of useless wealth surrounding a man whose life had run out. It's been decades now. Witnesses have aged, memories have faded, the trail is colder than ever. It's likely we will never know for sure what happened to Blair Adams in that parking lot. The long hair found in his hand is probably the best hope for a breakthrough, if modern DNA technology could ever extract a usable profile from it. But for now, it remains just another unanswered question. The story lingers because it touches on a primal fear. The fear of being chased. The fear of losing your mind. The fear of dying alone and scared, far from home. Blair Adams experienced all of it. His final week was a descent into a nightmare. We can only see the outlines of that nightmare. We can't know the specific. We can't know the name of his monster, or if it even had a name. Was he a man running from killers, or was he a man running from himself? In the end, does it matter? Either way, he lost. He ended up on the cold ground in a city he'd never seen before, his journey over, his secrets untold. And the money just laid there, glinting in the morning sun, a silent, mocking testament to a mystery that refuses to be solved. The mystery of how Blair Adams died after his frantic cross-country trip.